Listen to me and I'll tell you no lie. Too fast to turn, too low to climb. I got a cool machine and everybody say, whew, takes your breath away, border gliding.
Well, welcome back everybody to the fourth clip in the series of many clips. Can't think how many it is, but it might be like 11 or 12 or something. I can't remember, covering this 427k cross-country flight done as a competition task in March 2021 and organised by the people at Denbigh Gliding. Can't remember the author of the script. Might put it up on the screen if I can remember, of the task, rather, I should say. But the evening was kind of hosted by Chris Gill, who's the CFI and manager there, and quite a trailblazing pilot until recently in a DG1000M and now in an Arcus 4M, is it, I think? Both very high performance gliders with pop-up motors. But we're flying in a duo discus, which is a very similar kind of performance to those two machines. Glide angle of something like 1 in 55, is it? It's pretty good anyway. We're flying without ballast, no pilot in the back seat. And just to recap, this is a replay of a flight I did in October of this year, 2022, flying with my Ghost, wherever he is. We had a moment ago. Hope he'll pop up when I start the game. Start the clip. And my Ghost is me flying the task back in 2021, but not in the competition. I flew it on my own after the competition because I hadn't got the time at the time. In the competition evening, which is an online kind of comp, I think 23 pilots started and 4 got round. So it's a hard task. The best guy got round at 131 kph in about 3 hours, 15 minutes. I do this task at about 82 kph and 5 hours or something. But as I always say, I wasn't trying to be a record breaker, go fast, be maverick or anything like that. It's just trying to survive, get round, have fun. It's very frustrating if you do a very long task like this and then land out a fair way into it because you just feel like you've invested all that time and effort and you haven't got the wonderful victory to show for it. So my first priority was to get round. So on this task, the last task we sort of showed us proceeding along from back there. Along this, you can see this kind of sort of general rising ground. That's more or less facing into wind. We're facing at 2-4 at the moment. The wind direction is 295 at 21 knots. So put sort of 55 odd degrees under that. You've got the wind coming from about sort of there-ish or something. Have you? Something like that? Yeah, something like over there. So, and we're obviously heading towards some more good into wind stuff as we approach the turning point. We're at 4,658 feet, which is near the top end of the height we achieve on this task. But after we round this turning point, as you'll see, we're going to head off towards Fishguard, and there's a big decision then about how you fly it. I didn't know how you might fly it best to A, try and get round it, and then B, get round it quickly. And I didn't even look at the flight track for the competition winner until after I'd flown the flight in October this year. So I didn't try and borrow anything from looking at that flight track. I still flew my own flight, except that on this flight I was following the Ghost round. So the reasoning being that I wanted to make a video clip of this flight, but I hadn't saved a replay from when I did it back in 2021. And it was a hell of a business contemplating reflying it and perhaps just landing out. And I thought, well, hang on, you can get your last flight up as a Ghost plane to fly with and therefore follow. And as long as you follow them, well, if they get round, you should get round. We'll see what happens up ahead in other clips, but on the first leg, he already almost let me down and caused me to land out. And that might have been actually because I'm not sure that Condor shows everything in quite the accurate position on a replay. I've talked about this before, but when you're circling under clouds on the replay, you don't seem to be under the cloud at all. It's over there somewhere or something like that. And so I think it's not positioning things quite right. So maybe when I followed the Ghost on the first leg of this task, he seemed to be doing mad flying that wasn't going anywhere that made any sense. But maybe it's because he wasn't showing you in the right position. So I was being led into a bad place. I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on it. We survived and got through it. And I think it's time to start this clip. Can't think of much else to say. So if I can just move the visor a second to see the keyboard, let's press the P button and get going. Right, all of a sudden we can see the sea and everything. And off we go. And there's my ghost ahead of us and below. And we've talked about this before, but in real life, having your ghost in a blind spot like that would not be good practice. I'm just about okay there because I can just about keep an eye on him. But at some other points, I've had him disappearing right underneath the nose. And of course, in virtual reality, I can sort of lean right over the side of the cockpit and I can sort of see him down there. But in a real glider, I'd hit the perspex if I got to about here, so I wouldn't be able to see down there. So yeah. Incidentally, another little technical point, in the earlier flights that I've already put on YouTube, I used the microphone in the VR headset to pick up the sound. The good thing about that is it doesn't matter where I move my head all over the place, this, that and the other, the sound will be picked up evenly. The bad point is that it's still, it's not a particularly good quality microphone for this kind of thing and seem to get some slight poor audio at times. But also, of course, you're stuck with the audio level in your voice microphone that is now mixed in the recording with the sounds coming from the cockpit, the variometer that you can hear and the airflow and things, and you can't rebalance them. And I got some feedback suggesting my commentary voice was being a bit drowned out by the the sound of the variometer and the wind rushing past the cockpit and things. So for this 427k flight, I'm recording the commentary audio on a music recording studio microphone thing, so it's recorded separately. I can resync it with the video, and then I'm able to balance them separately. Anyway, enough of that stuff. So as you can see, we're flying along towards the turning point, which is about 13 kilometers away. We are flying pretty much westerly, and the wind is northwesterly pretty much, so it's somewhere over there. So more or less, these steep mountain sort of edges are into wind, and some of the bits of the bowls, like around here, will be catching the wind even better, and you can hear the variometer going up as we go into this bit. Probably that bowl catching things quite well. I'm not quite sure why my ghost is flying out there. He must have his reasons, or again, perhaps Condor is not positioning correctly. Perhaps at the time of the flight he was more where I am now, but ahead of me a bit, obviously. So to that extent, I am doing things my own way. And we're at similar heights, at similar speeds, so it doesn't matter that much. But I'd like to get as high as I can while we still have this source of powerful lift. Because once we round the turning point, which is hidden behind the mountain edge over by the seaside, once we get past that point, we'll have a little bit more opportunity, not much perhaps, to get some lift off of terrain features. But then we basically, well, we'll see where the needle points, but we have to head off into that vague horizon over the sea to get to Fishguard. And without some kind of calculator to help me know whether I'd get there, I'm having to make some judgment calls about whether I would get there by flying direct to it. I think certainly I wouldn't. And so I'm trying to, or I will try, you'll see this, I will try to fly over the sea towards it, but not so far away from the coast that when I see I'm not going to make it, I can't slip in towards the coast and start using the cliffs and whatever slopes there are near the coast. So enough of that for now. Let's just take a moment to relax and enjoy this wonderful view and see what happens. Oh, and incidentally, having gone round Fishguard, we will then have to come all the way back up this coast, across this very same estuary, back up over there somewhere, and we're crossing that next estuary you can see in the kind of the middle distance, over to those mountains that are disappearing in the haze. So we've got a lot of flying to do. Interesting, my ghost is now up at my level, just like that, even though I thought I was doing a more skillful job at flying. Oh, now I'm going up above them. Oh, I'm pulling my speed back. And I suppose it's just the differences you get when each varies their speed and pulls up for height. Just a mouse cursor shown in my VR screen. You might not see it on this replay, watching it on a monitor. I'm going to move it off to the side anyway, just in case it's in the way. I can't remember how long this clip is at the time of making this commentary, but I'm feeling it's quite a long one, because I think I take us down the coast a bit while I try and find things to talk about. So there's our ghost happily off our starboard wing and a bit below us. Now slipping in underneath us. And now he's in that kind of dangerous spot where should he pull up and I'm not keeping an eye on him, we could have a mid-air. We don't want any of that. And that's why in real life I don't think you would do too much of this hanging around in a spot that is certainly blind for him, and likely to be blind for me too. I love this landscape though. Altogether more gentle than the landscapes in the other YouTube clips I've done, the Alps, the Andes and Argentina. And of course not with the same humongous kind of lift opportunities, but still capable of giving you a decent lift. Excuse me, just adjusting the VR headset in case there was any strange movement there. So here we are, flying out towards the Irish Sea. How weird to a land-lubbering glider pilot like me to find yourself getting involved with the sea like this. It's spooky, really. I should say, though, that Chris Gill at Denbigh Gliding has been doing these remarkable flights, like 750, 800k and things, and not in thermals. It's wave lift. One of them had a thermal section, but a lot of it's wave lift, and he climbs in the wave systems over North Wales to sort of 20,000 feet, and then he sets off across the sea towards the Lake District, picking up the wave system in the mountains there to top up, then flying up to Scotland, the Scottish border perhaps, then back down towards the Pennines and more Yorkshire-ish, using whatever wave system might be working there as well, and then heading back towards Denbigh, which usually means a sort of final leg going into wind. One of these flights, I think, by the time he got past the Yorkshire moors, which for the global audience is very roughly speaking, kind of beyond a big city like Leeds. It's actually a bit further north than that. He was relying on thermal lift there, and the day just died on him because it was past the peak of summer and it just wasn't quite enough. But he does incredible flights, and he'll do a lot more. I think the world will hear from Chris Gill again. Da, 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 da. So right, here we are. We've got the PDA set on the map setting now. As we approach turning point 2, you can see the little red barrel there, 3 kilometres from it. We're at 5,500 feet. We couldn't really hope for much more than that, but I'm sure I'm in the game of getting every little bit I can, because I'm looking down that way and thinking, what on earth do I do now? You don't forget, I'm not experienced at any of this. I've never done this before, and I'm thinking, how are you supposed to sort of get all the way down there and get all the way back? Because there's no thermals. We're going to be out over the sea. How much of that coast is going to offer kind of a wind blowing onto slopes that allow you to stay up? It's all pretty low as well. I mean, they're not, none of it looks like big cliffs or anything, so you're not going to be very far above the ground. And what do you do when you come to like a big gap in it? I don't know any of this. I don't know this locally. And in fairness, Chris Gill, I think, has explored some of this. Well, first of all, as an expert pilot, Second, always being aware of where he would put the machine down if he needed to, slip back over those meadows and pastures, whatever they are, you can see down there, back from the sea. And thirdly, hopefully, of course, being able to start a motor that will mean he hasn't got to do that. But you can't rely on that. And the moment you pop that motor up, the gliding performance of the machine goes right down. And at the kind of heights you'll be having to make that decision down here, I don't even know, to be honest, quite how you approach that whole situation. Perhaps Chris Gill will watch this and leave a comment. Right, so here we are. Looks as though we're rounded the turning point, which is, excuse me, that's me hitting a physical object in the virtual world. It's the microphone pop filter. Yeah, so that must be our turning point, which is rounding there. Okay, now it's showing Fishguard. And as you can see, Fishguard, the next turning point, is, like 1 o'clock off the nose. Well, I mean, that's just like heading out to oblivion. The blue sea haze, and there's some land over there somewhere, but I can't see it. I can't gauge it visually. Without having done a pre-task planning where I know what distance this is and could have done some theoretical calculations based on glide angles, and distance to go and the following wind and things, which I suppose you would have done in real life. In real life, you would have done a fair bit of pre-flight planning, but I've not done any of that. I've just kind of, and I don't think the task, well, I don't know, but some of them might have done, the winner might have done, I don't know what planning they did before they did the competition. They'd have been well advised to, I suppose. Oh no, but I'm trying to remember now, I think that they didn't get to see the competition until almost the time it was on very shortly, so I think that was all part of the fun, for want of a better word, was you didn't get to know what you were being told to do until, a bit like Bomber Command when you're called in to be told what the target for tonight is, You don't get to know what it is until you get in that room and they pull the cover off the map and show you. Must make for an interesting nut-tightening experience. Not to trivialise Bomber Command's war, mind you. Right, so here we are, allowing the ghost to find our blind spot again, but it's okay in VR because I can keep an eye on him out here. So I think one of the things I'm thinking at this point is, well, although we're flying with a ghost, it would be interesting to see whether I could do things a bit differently. I still don't really understand the whole business of letting yourself go along the coast and trusting to the coastal cliffs to get you going. So, in fact, what I opt to do, I think, is to see whether I can steer a course that's a little nearer to on target for Fishguard, while my ghost here stays closer to the coastline. And as we'll see, first of all, doesn't make a huge amount of difference to the outcome. But secondly, when I review my flight track, which I hope by the time I finish this video and got it ready for YouTube, I'll be able to put a video in video picture of both the competition winners flight track on this section and on my flight tracks on the 20th of October. When you look at my flight track that I did in October this year, I might think I was being bolder and going further out to sea to try and get more directly to Fishguard, but in fact when you look at it over the map, all I do is do the worst of both worlds, because I'm out over the sea where there's no lifting opportunities, but I'm still having to curve round with the coast because I daren't be too far away from it. So with what I know now and seeing how the winning competitor flew, you'd go fastest and best by having water ballast on, cracking on. You'd first of all, you'd be gliding faster here now at the same glide angle, and just making a natural intersection with that coastline, or perhaps an optimal one if you can see a point where you know you're going to arrive at the critical height in a good section of coastline, and get on with speeding down the coast. And of course, if you sped along at a good speed, 80 or 90 knots, there is lots of coastline. It should average out the lift, the better bits, the worst bits. You'll skip over the bad bits, do a bit better on the other bits, and one way or another you should just find yourself beelining down that coastline, or barrelling down it, because a beeline is more direct, isn't it? Barreling down the coastline and then ultimately getting to Fishguard that way, which is longer, but again, it's like a motorway, you know. Might be longer in distance, but it's quicker in speed. Anyway, I might try that if I can summon up the energy to refly the task yet again, by which time I won't be so bothered if I fail and land out anyway, because I'll always be able to say, well, you flew it twice successfully, you're just not quite good enough to do it like a speed merchant, you know, a Top Gun. And let's face it, as a 70-year-old retired glider pilot, I'm not Top Gun anyway. So at the moment, I'm just following this guy, aren't I? I'm just doing the same as him. And we're both heading out over the sea. Look how even the waves are. Remarkable. I love these kinds of seams you get in the maps as well, where bits of the virtual world have been joined together, not seamlessly. Oh yes, and tonight, again, I'm enjoying a G&T. I don't do a lot of this, but it's been a kind of tricky few days, and I'm enjoying... Oh, right, okay, so this clip stops now. Yes, I'm enjoying a G&T, wonderful. I'm just going to reach for the glass and have a little sip. Won't be visor on. Nope, can't be done. The visor gets in the way. We'll do that in a minute when this clip's over. And I don't feel any shame about it. I mean, this is VR gliding, so I can drink and fly. You never do it in the real world. It's verboten. But I do notice that people offering these gaming chairs, these gaming cockpits for people wanting to fly gliders, and so they want the reclining glider position with the air brake lever and everything to hand. At least one of the makers makes sure there is a drinks holder on one side of the cockpit. So there you go. There's obviously other armchair pilots enjoying a G&T while they fly. So anyway, that's the end of this clip. Interesting that the ghost is still disappearing, although the clip has ended. We observed that one before. But it's quite interesting, actually. It's quite useful, this, because as you can see, he's already starting to drift more towards the coast. It'll be interesting to see whether I am, with him on the next clip, because we skip a bit of this, I think. And so, yeah, anyway, let's leave that for now. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, and if I've managed to work out how to put a notification bell on the screen by the time I publish this YouTube video, click the notification bell to get notified of future stuff. And as usual, when I take the visor off, it's going to look like I'm bailing out the aircraft. Look after yourselves. Nice to have you with us, and bye if you've stayed this long, and bye for now.
Well, here I am again, the sky looks black. I got my best friend, she's riding in the back.